Okay, Stephen, when you come down from our suite here in the Canary Islands, can you bring me my nipple cream? I don't want to burn here in the sun on this Nikon trip. Okay, be sure not to let anybody see you. We don't want them to know that we're on a secret Nikon trip. Okay? All right. Bye.
Man, it feels so nice to be in the sun here in Narnia on this Canary Island trip for Nikon, Steven.
I got a nice sunburn already, man. My pale skin does not like it.
Look at Steven burning up.
Do you hear the seagulls?
Oh, sorry, that was the fellatio. Not on me. That was the fellatio on someone else sitting there next to me.
Jesus.
All right, moving on. We're here at the Nikon event in Narnia off the Canary Islands, in the Canary Islands, to see this new camera that doesn't exist. And there's a bunch of other creators here like Jordan and Chris. Hey, Jordan and Chris, how you doing this morning? All right, guys, eh? How you doing? Do you want to talk about the snow back in Canada, eh? No, guys, we're not in Canada anymore.
Ironically, it sounds like you have a cold, but you're on a tropical island? That's weird.
Yeah, Steven, I got a little bit of a cold when I was in, where was I? Kansas? I was in Kansas, Wichita. You know, I wanted to go to Topeka so I could just say that I'm a golden god.
We talked about this already. I feel like your mind gets erased every RAWtalk.
It doesn't get erased. It's just I can't remember from one thing to the next and who I tell stories to anymore. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting old. My birthday's Sunday.
How old?
I think 43.
Isn't it bad when you have to think about your age? Wait, am I 34, 35?
Yeah, it's always one less than the year.
Yeah.
So if it's 2024, I'm one less than that. 43. 43 with the sexy arms, beautiful skin, soft. That's what the ladies tell me. Like, Jared, how do you get your skin so soft?
Great hair with all the dead ends. It's never been cut.
Well, let's just say this. Nikon Rumors is a fucking moron. The website, you know, like they're pulling at straws. They see me on an airplane. Anybody knows that listens to my content, which they clearly don't, where I was, because I've talked about it. I was in the airplane with my scarf on. Yeah, would I have a scarf going to Narnia?
You had a cutoff shirt with a scarf, which is just a contradiction in itself.
But is it,
Most
Steven?
pretentious look ever.
Is it?
Yes.
Sitting in first class, is it?
Here we go again.
I got upgraded. I didn't pay for first class. I got upgraded.
Again, we talked about this already.
Executive platinum. I wear a cutoff shirt because, one, I like my arms. They're sexy. Two, a scarf keeps my entire body warm. I actually get overheated when wearing a scarf. I don't think I wore my scarf today. I'm very upset about that. I just realized it's on the sofa.
It makes sense where you're at now because it's about 15 degrees out. And you also keep it like 60 degrees in the factory at all times.
No, 64 or 65.
Excuse me, 64, 65.
My house is 63. But, Steven, when you live in a place that is so massive, you don't really need to heat the whole thing. You could heat certain spots.
When you're on the second floor out of 6 floors, you're fine. You're nice and insulated.
When you're in house number 5, house number 4, and you have the heat kept at certain level.
See, my issue now is that the nursery, Hannah's room, is right above the non-insulated garage, so her room has to stay at a certain temperature, which brings the whole rest of the house up. So now I'm like putting it to 70 degrees at night and sweating as I'm sleeping. It sucks.
How dare you, Stephen? Your carbon footprint is now atrocious because of your precious daughter, Hannah.
She's so selfish. So selfish.
How dare you, Hannah? Hey, why'd you put it there? Why didn't you take the other room?
It's bigger. It's got bigger closet space. It's just a better room in general.
So if you end up having more kids, do you then switch? Do you lose your office at some point?
Well, if I have more than 2 kids, yes, I will probably be losing my office unless I put them both in one room. It's a 4-bedroom house. One is my office. One is obviously our bedroom.
I live in a 4-bedroom house up on a hill on a golf course.
I think 3 or 4 bedrooms is fairly standard.
Oh, I live in a
I'm not saying
house.
They're big.
Oh, I don't have a basement.
Exactly. But yeah, we still have one extra room, the guest room as of now, and eventually that will become a room. But yeah, I hope I don't have to give up my office because that will suck.
Is that a Sony mug you're drinking out of?
It is. It's a Sony Alpha mug that they gifted us during the holidays.
I fucking threw it right in the trash. I was like, fuck you, Sony.
No, you gave it to Dan.
Oh, I gave it to Dan. That's right. Dan gets all the stuff I don't like.
It's actually really nice. It's an auto heating mug. There's a little pad that it heats on and keeps a consistent temperature for people like me that edit for 4 hours and forget they have a cup of coffee next to them and have to reheat it 37 times. This just now stays a consistent hot temperature the entire time. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's a terrible gift.
And it doubles as a MagSafe charger for your phone. So when you're not using it for the coffee, you can put your phone on there and charge it.
But can you put your coffee on top of your phone while the phone is charging and heat your coffee?
No, they specifically say not to.
So I was happy with some Sony gifts in the past, like my Porsche.
The building they bought you.
No, the pants. Oh, and I wear their jacket. Of all the jackets I've gotten from Nikon, Canon, Sony, I like the Sony jacket the most in the winter because it's the warmest. It's a Marmount or whatever it's called. The Nikon jacket is great in the spring, and the Canon jacket is
terrible.
It's just not that good.
It's like the cheapest of the cheap jackets. Like the Sony one is fairly thin, and you could be in like sub-zero temperatures, and it will keep you nice and toasty. It really is a great jacket.
Speaking of sub-zero temperatures, Steven, -4 degrees is what it was in Wichita, Kansas, while I was there with a wind chill of -30.
Wow, that's cold.
Yeah. It was cold. It wasn't that bad. I will say, though, when the wind blew, and if my wrist was exposed because I just get out of the car, I took gloves and all just in case, and like my watch, the metal of the watch on my skin, yeah, it didn't feel too good.
Wow, I bet, yeah.
And when I left to drive my car back to the airport, it was -1, and I had to go get gas. I had to fill up gas for the first time in over a year because I don't have a gas car.
Yeah, how's your Tesla doing in this cold weather?
It's fine. It's just unfortunate that my garage is they're pouring the concrete soon for the
Oh, you're pouring your
pad.
concrete in your giant garage. That'll fit 8 cars. Look at you. Blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah.
Yeah, so when I get like a Porsche or something else, I'll be putting it in there. You know, maybe I just want a fun car, which I really don't care about cars, but we'll see if I can talk car companies into, hey, drop me a McLaren this week. I have a place to put it in the city.
Well, opposite of those cold temperatures, bringing it back to this whole Nikon rumor discussion, where we're supposedly on this tropical island that's nice and warm.
On the tropical island, Steven. We're still there.
Yes. Oh, sorry. We're still there.
You're editing the video that doesn't exist.
Yes, I'm editing in the background while I'm doing this podcast.
I love that they put that there because they saw Jordan traveling somewhere, which turns out to be San Jose for
That was Chris.
a Samsung.
Well, Chris and Jordan, yeah.
Yeah, for a Samsung event, and me flying home from Kansas as evidence.
The best is Chris trolling them with a picture of just palm trees, and that's it.
Oh, but then I went ahead and commented under it, was like, hey, man, it's great to see you this week on this secret Nikon trip.
Do you think we would actually be posting about being in an airplane if we were on a secret trip? Come on.
Well, what I will say is how moronic the commenters are. And yeah, I'm calling you fucking morons in the comment section. If you guys take this as fact, you're a moron.
It's the know-it-all mentality that annoys me. Like, oh, well, clearly they're doing this, and it's all like very definitive and fact-based.
Yes.
And it's like, what are you talking about? You don't know how this stuff works. Have you been on a trip before? We're NDA'd and have an embargo where we can't talk about anything or even say we're traveling.
Right. No, the best is, well, let's see. If they're traveling today, that means they got there. Then there's a welcome day, and then there's 2 days of shooting. Then they get a day to travel. Then they have to edit it. Oh, so it should be done a day after that.
There are definitely trips like that, especially Canon tends to give you like a 2 or 3 day turnaround once you get home. But most trips, they give you a week or two or even more. I mean, every trip is different. Every manufacturer is different. You can't say definitively, oh, it's only a 1 to 2 day turnaround.
Well, you can look at the A9 III video where we had no warning and we just had to film it and edit it on location and then post it.
And I will say the Z6 and Z7 launch was also like that. You know, we're randomly invited to New York, and I don't think we knew anything about what was going to happen then either.
4 a.m. launch?
Was that
I
what
think
it
I
was?
up at 4 a.m. to post that video.
I don't recall.
In my room? Yeah, they sent some people to Japan too.
But most actual trips where you're traveling, typically you have several days, if not weeks, to turn it around.
Yeah. Oh, and if you do get a chance, and if that post is still up after the losers realize that it's not real, then you should read some of the comment sections that they invite these clowns, and then by clowns they mean me. And they're like, but haters, they keep inviting that hater. It's just like you people have no clue.
And clearly they don't watch every Nikon review or Nikon video that we do, because there are plenty of favorable videos that we do about Nikon, especially, speaking of plenty, the Plana video about the 135 was a very positive review, along with the 180 to 600.
We don't need to defend ourselves from these people. You know, just like I guess they put out new firmware for the Z6 and Z7 yesterday that fixed one thing. Clearly, you're going to get people saying, it's even better now. Do you think I'm better now? Better now? Yeah, no. Anyway, we talked about this last week, that the Apple headset display thing is coming out and it's going on sale 8 a.m. tomorrow at this point, which is Friday, 8 a.m. I'm still debating, and I just wanted to ask you, should I? You think I should buy it and make the content, and if I don't like it, return it because it's $3,500?
Yet another thing we talked about last week on RAWtalk.
No, I know that, but I'm doing a quick, what do you think?
I don't think you need to do it. I think you're going to buy one and return it and hate it, just like you did with the AirPod Maxes. I just feel like you're always an early adopter and then kind of annoyed after the fact when it comes to Apple products.
Not with everything, but I will say that other people put out, Apple did invite people to New York to get heads on with it, and the early consensus was I'm fucking funny, Steven. If you just have the loop on, like ski goggles, it's heavy as fuck on your head, and you need that extra loop on the top to make it light. I think the problem is it's too heavy, and the next generation is going to have to make it much lighter. MKBHD was less harsh on it than some of the other people. He said some of the display stuff was great, but the other thing that's weird is Apple, when you have to update the App Store to make a purchase, not the App Store, the Apple Store where you make a purchase of product, because it's going to scan, the camera's going to scan your face to try and guess what the best light seal and whatever it is that you need to get for it. It just seems, I think Steve Jobs would be fucking pissed off right now. The ease of use, to buy it, you've got to order it, they've got to scan your face, they got to ask you questions about glasses, they got to do this, all 15 things before you can even get the thing shipped to you.
I think it's proof of concept for the most part. I would personally wait for a version 2, so the second generation comes out. I think there's not going to be not enough games, not enough apps to support this kind of stereoscopic, VR look just yet. And I'm sure there are going to be a lot of bugs, and I guarantee they're working on a version 2 as of now. I would personally just wait till a second generation comes out. Are you really going to use it, is the question?
Well, that's the thing. I think that's part of what the video is about, is how does it work for photographers and videographers, for editing? I want to do it from that standpoint, just for me. Like, how is it in Lightroom?
Yeah, and hey, if you're talking about buying it for content purposes, then I would say yes. If you're talking about buying it for personal uses, I would say no.
Here's another use I could totally see using, leading into like
what?
Wichita. What?
Huh? What?
A use that I could see using it is when you travel and you're a mobile video editor and you don't want to take a display with you, you then have the option of sitting in your hotel room or on location where you need to edit and having a larger display and the ability to do that.
Sure.
Because one of the guys at the bowling who works for the USBC, it's a United States Bowling Congress, he brought an Apple studio with him, and he had a display there, but he had external docks for backing up footage, and he's just like, it's just amazing having this studio. One, the studio is so small. So you could take a laptop, you could take a studio, and you can take the goggles that act as your display.
And back to that A9 III press trip that we went on just in New York, and we had to turn around a video within, 2 hours, I think I turned it around. I would have absolutely loved something like that when I was trying to edit on my small...
Sold. 2 of them. Dan doesn't get one. Ordering 2. Write me. Order 2 at 8 a.m.
But that was a quick 2-hour turnaround. How will it be if I'm working on a project for 8 hours at a time? Like we talked about last week, the fatigue will definitely be an issue, whether it's eye fatigue or just head fatigue in general.
Yeah. Hey, remember when I was having trouble with my ear, my right ear?
Still are.
Well, yeah, I went back to the ear doctor, and she looks in there, and she's like, it looks like you have a hole in the top of your eardrum. Great, that's
how did
amazing.
You even do that?
I don't know if
just
it
pressure
was
buildup, or
it could be a release of pressure because it had nowhere to go. It could be that when the urgent care person was blowing out the shit in my ear, she fucking
stabbed you,
shot it straight through, and didn't angle it up. and was just like trying to get shit out of it and did it in such a way that caused a hole.
A rupture.
It's not painful, thankfully. I can fly without a problem because pressure can be released.
Yeah.
And they did a hearing test to see if my hearing is bad. My right ear has no like loss of hearing that is long term. It's like I'm not hearing certain frequencies because of the hole in the eardrum.
Low or high?
Low rumbles, like low stuff, not high pitched like men that make screeching noises, like, I don't know, like, people that talk like me. I probably hear that perfectly well, but the low rumbles of a car, I don't know, Steven. I really wanted to say bitches, and I don't mean women. I just mean men that are bitches too, that talk like, shrilly and all. Like, I didn't want to say that. I don't want to get canceled, but they did my left ear too.
Yeah.
And so when the audiologist was, and the ENT was going over my document, she goes, she's like, I would love to use your left ear as an example to people that are around loud noises all the time as what your hearing should look like if you take proper precautions and wear earplugs at concerts and wherever you do. Because for 20 plus years, I've been wearing earplugs, and for 15 years, I've had custom molded earplugs, or maybe more like 12-ish years, I've had custom molds. But before that, I used the Etymotic Sound ones, which were the 3-stage. And before that, I used the shitty orange ones, but at least I had earplugs.
Yep.
But for the last 12 plus years, I've had custom molded earplugs that I wear in every loud situation. Even if I'm traveling, I put them in my ears.
It always blew my mind when I would be next to a fellow concert photographer in the pit and they would have zero ear protection. And I'm talking maybe half of them would have no ear protection, like more obviously on the younger side. But I'm like, what are you guys doing? Now, there has definitely been a time or two where I forgot it or lost them, but I've always asked the security guards if they have an extra, those cheap orange ones that you were talking about. And usually they have something on their person. So I've always been protected for the most part. So I'm curious how mine look compared to yours. Because I've also been in loud studio session environments at the radio station where the band is blasting, and I usually didn't have ear protection there, but I also wasn't 2 feet in front of them.
Yeah, she said the worst offenders. Can you guess who the worst offenders are with hearing protection?
The worst offenders? Video gamers?
Landscapers.
Oh.
She said they come in and she's like, you need hearing aids and you're 30. And they're like, well, it's fine. And she's like, no, like, why are you not wearing those over the ear ones that really protect your ears from loud noises? You're around such loud objects and you won't protect your ears.
Well, most of them have some sort of headset on or headphones playing music, but I wonder if they're blasting the music, trying to tune out all of the loud machines.
Get the ones they wear when you shoot guns, just the big earmuff ones, I would just get my custom molded earplugs.
When I mow the lawn, I love those Sony MX4s or whatever they're called over the ear headphones because they're not only noise canceling, but I can keep playing my music or listen to my podcast at a low volume while protecting my ears at the same time. It's great.
Hey, you sent me another video this morning about a YouTuber doing something.
Yes.
Who was that?
Caleb Pike of DSLR Video Shooter. His title was "It's Time for a Change," and I thought he was finally changing the name of his channel from DSLR Video Shooter to his name, which I think he should have done a long time ago, to be honest. But it was quite the opposite. It was more a video about burnout.
But he listed a few people. I guess he's like Parker Wallback is stepping back from
a lot
DSLR
of the video-centric channels he listed, like Matty Hapoya, all those guys, maybe 7, 8, 9 channels. Cinecom. .net, I think that's what they were called. Jordy, he's officially done YouTube altogether. Like, he's not even saying he's going on hiatus or anything or coming back in a year or taking time off. He's just legit done. That's got over 2 million subscribers, I'm pretty sure, his channel. And he has employees.
Right. Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I bring it up again because it's a ongoing thing, it seems. Each day or each week, there's another YouTuber talking about something about changing or leaving or being burnt out. I just think you just need to find your way and not worry so much and ebbs and flows and
Well, that's what I was just going to bring up. I find it interesting that he listed a set of rules that he's going to abide by now, basically not worrying as much as he used to, dealing with the ebbs and flows, not worrying so much about thumbnails, getting back into the fun of video creating and producing and not making so much of a job, just kind of stepping back a little bit. And what surprised me is that he said everything, once 2021 hit, he's seen a loss in both revenue and views, which I thought the opposite. His channel seemed to be thriving, in my opinion, but he's only putting out videos once every month or two, really big long-form videos, and it just takes him a while to produce, but they're really well done.
Sure. And I've been seeing this more and more with channels like that 8-bit guy that I follow, where they're talking about loss of revenue and not seeing as many views, yet the guy then says, well, I guess I only put out 6 videos last year. It's like, well, yeah. How are you going to end up in someone's feed, recommended feed, or anywhere if you're not supplying them with content? YouTube's going to be like, fuck you, I'm going home. I'm not going to show it to anybody. And in terms of the revenue, yeah, I think our revenue was I think we did $92,000 in YouTube revenue last year, which is one of the lowest revenues that we've done from YouTube AdSense. But that's because there were certain times where we just didn't have a lot of content coming out for certain reasons, like there wasn't gear to talk about, which wasn't big. But then in other months where there was a lot of gear coming out, we got a lot of big Sony stuff.
It almost evens itself out.
Yeah. I mean, do I want to make more than $92,000 in ad revenue off of that? Sure. Does that kill us? The answer is no. If we made $0 on YouTube, we'd still be perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Knock on wood, right? Like, that's the thing. I just think a lot of these channels didn't diversify far enough. They didn't.
They solely rely on ad revenue, and that's the issue. They need to have some sort of digital product to keep going and not having to worry about putting out video after video after video. You can rely on digital sales and digital products. And I know Caleb...
And Patreon doesn't count.
I think Patreon works for like a few months and then people just tune out and I also think I've never supported a Patreon, but I've seen a lot of people commenting about Patreons that they support.
What about OnlyFans?
There's a couple of those that I support, but that's between me and you. But I've seen a lot of people commenting negatively about Patreon, saying, it was great for the first few months, but then the actual creator stopped supporting their own Patreon and not giving enough content like they promised in the first place. So
how many times have I said...
If you can pull it off, that's great, but...
Well, how many times have I said that people are like, why don't you do a membership site? And I have friends that are like, you should do a membership site. And how many times have I told you? I already give away enough free shit. I don't think I can give enough value to want to charge someone Netflix style money, $20 a month or something. What am I giving them? What I got to do? Once a month, do a free, like a live chat, a live stream? I could, but it's like... I'll point to Peter Hurley because I just want to point that out. He's got his headshot crew and he'll post about like, you just became an associate. And it's like, is it that important to be a Peter Hurley associate? Is anybody that's hiring you going to be like, oh shit, he's a Peter Hurley associate. He could shoot a headshot like Peter Hurley. I need to keep paying him my money.
I mean, at least they get first dibs with Shebangers.
Oh, you're going to go there, Stephen. Oh, you went there. I mean, I love Peter. I do too. I just don't like the membership sites. And yeah, Peter will give feedback, and Peter does a certain type of portrait and a certain type of headshot. And it's the same headshot, same lighting. It's just rinse and repeat time and time again.
It works.
It looks really good, and it gives people a perfect headshot that they want. I don't like that you could always see the softbox and then digitally they take everything out. But
well, I think he's also great at hiding everyone's flaws too. Making them pose a certain way to make their face a lot more flattering.
He is extremely successful on the business front, and I commend him for that. We talked a long time ago about the Shebangers and how my advice was don't get into that business. And Shebangers are worth like 12 cents right now in NFTs. Like, what NFT is actually worth something? I don't even want to go back down that rabbit hole of V-Friends and that whole game of gambling on the NFT world. And then you'll get the crypto people like, it's back. Crypto's back. I just heard the other day, someone was telling me that their family member lost like $200,000 of savings in Bitcoin at some point, and they dug into their like 401k to take out 100k to do it. And so you hear all the stories of like major successes, but the people that continually get hurt, the people that continually get hurt are the people that can't afford to get hurt. But they were sold on some idea that if they invest in this bullshit, that it's going to be an easy. If an investment is looking at you in the face, an investment that is available, and the sole reasoning they tell you for investing is that you'll double your money and you'll just make money, and that you make money off of the money and that's it, then you should run away and not invest in it. That's not how you do investing. That's gambling.
What I can't stand is the amount of bots, especially in the YouTube comment section, that are always talking about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and all of this and how you should invest with this person. And then you have 40 other bots commenting below, making it seem like they also invested and it worked out on their end. And it's all just fake, obviously, but there's plenty of people that will give into that. Also, like my friend, her Facebook account got hacked. This person was posting that she was now a certified cryptocurrency instructor or something like that. I forget what it was.
That's what the hacks do.
Not only are they posting pictures of her own family and trying to make it seem like it's still her profile and it's not hacked, but then they're including her family members in the post about this family member invested this much and I gave them back 3 times that investment in return and blah, blah, blah. And it's scary.
Phone call, Steven. Hello?
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm on my podcast recording live.
Wow. I seem to manage to find my way into being heard nationwide.
Worldwide.
Worldwide. Well, God, I would hate to mess that one up. So, okay.
What can I call you back?
Of course you can call me back. I just sent you that little note this morning because they talked about that on the news today. So I thought that you would be interested in that little financing thing. So, okay.
Okay.
Have fun on your podcast. We'll talk to you soon.
Any words of wisdom to the people in podcast land?
Save money.
Don't invest in crypto.
That is correct. Do not invest in crypto because nobody has a clue.
All right. We're going to go back to the podcast now.
My POWs, I'm sure, were not exactly well received, but we'll talk about that at another time. Okay. Pearls of wisdom. Talk to you. Bye.
Bye.
What was
Steven
that last thing?
Steven and I are sitting. My POWs were not well received. He says,
What's
and
that?
then he's like, pearls of wisdom. I'm like, Jesus Christ, you're talking in acronyms from 1964? Like, what?
I love that he always says, all right, okay, I'll call you back. But real quick, here's why I'm calling. Let me continue the conversation.
I know. No, what he sent me this morning is I think they passed some sort of law or something that they're going to start doing financial literacy courses in high school.
That's what it should be, man.
That's what we just are talking about, basically. Is
taxes, finances, mortgages, all of that stuff. Credit, yes.
It starts with credit.
Of course. All of that should be a staple class in high school.
I said it. Home economics isn't just sewing and how to cook. Home economics is understanding finance first and foremost, and healthy eating and fitness. That should be, most of school should be just be not learning bullshit.
I mean, we had health class and all of that, but yeah, I definitely think finances, unless you took an elective, you really weren't learning about that.
Here's how you put a condom on a banana. Damn, dude. I had human sex education 12, and we had to get a parent's permission slip to be in this class. We had... What an unbelievably eye-opening thing. Like, I'm some virgin kid sitting in high school listening to the popular girl talk about getting rammed in the ass the other night. And I'm like, this is amazing. I'm like, this is before, like, internet porn.
High school student would talk about their personal sex stories?
She was talking about it in class to the other people. I'm like, this is amazing.
Oh, jeez.
I'm like, can I go to the bathroom, please? I was just like, this is great. Oh, then they had all, it was honestly an amazing class because you know how most people are sheltered and none of this is ever talked about and it's closed and it's like taboo and it's just education, right? This teacher, he brought in a rape victim and she talked about her experiences. He brought in, and this is 1999, he brought in a woman who was once a man No. She was a woman, and then she transitioned to be a man, and we're talking in 1999.
Wow.
Right? When it was a bigger issue.
Oh, yeah.
And she talked about her girlfriend. And the one question got asked that I wanted to get asked, because she was the man, but she doesn't have a penis. Like, so how do you have sex? And she said she used a strap-on. I was like, yeah, this is amazing. This was so good. Thank you. No, but it was so eye-opening to have all these people come in and talk, just people that you would have never encountered in your life, and be open about it. I'm all about education, and I think it's fantastic. And we can get back on the topic about literacy, because Steven, for whatever reason, wanted to go into sex education here.
Yep,
There's
me.
a note.
All
There's
me.
a note. Oh, sorry. We're in Lanzarote off an island talking about sex education right now in the sun. Let's move on from that. Let me just say,
Please.
I love Peter Hurley. I am a little harsh on certain things. Personally, I just feel certain things are like, yeah, maybe not the best thing for people. But that's me. Okay, let's move on. Let's transition into she, they, them.
That was actually a solid transition for once, though.
Thank you, Stephen. Oh, yes, because we just talked about a woman, a man, transitioning, a woman, a man.
You don't need
woman.
to explain it.
I'm still trying. Hey, I watched this show called Louder Milk last night. Have you heard of it?
We're supposed to be transitioning onto a new topic. Stay on track.
I suggest that you watch Louder Milk on Netflix. It was great. The guy from he's the guy from a Safety Not Guaranteed, and I also think he was the guy from Office Space too, the main character.
Wait, Safety Not Guaranteed. Is that the DeLorean one or whatever?
No, they have to build a time. He's seeking
time machine,
a partner to travel back in time to do something.
So is this the guy that's in the morning show? He's one of the lead characters in the morning show as well?
He's one of the, I think so, yeah.
Is he the main character in Safety Not Guaranteed is what I'm asking.
I think so.
If he is, then this is the guy I'm talking about. He's in the morning show as well. He's been on that for a few seasons.
Yeah, Ron Livingston. I don't know if he's in that.
No. He looks like Ron Livingston. His name is Mark Duplass?
Oh, yeah, Mark Duplass.
He does look like Ron Livingston, though.
Oh,
that's
Ron
Office
Livingston.
Space. You're talking about Office Space with that guy.
Yeah, Office Space.
Different people.
Well, he was in Band of Brothers. He was in
Ron
Swingers.
Livingston was. Who are we talking about here? Ron Livingston or the other guy?
He was in Boardwalk Empire?
Ron Livingston was in a lot, yeah.
He's in the show Louder Milk, I think. Yeah, Louder Milk. Oh my God, it's from 2017, and it only went for 3 seasons. I watched the first 2 episodes. It's great. It's right up my alley. I suggest that you watch it. We don't have to waste time on it, but I just wanted to say it, Stephen.
He was great in Band of Brothers. He was one of the main characters. He was Lewis Nixon, the drunk.
It's a great HBO thing right there.
Well, they're about to put out the, I guess, third part of that series, the what the hell is it called? Masters of the Air, about the Air Force during World War II. And
that's what that is?
Going to be Spielberg and Tom Hanks again. It's on Apple TV Plus, I believe, and it's going to be January 26th is when it comes out. I'm excited. It's the guy that played Elvis is one of the leads, but I wasn't a huge fan of the Pacific. I loved Band of Brothers and the European part, but I wasn't a huge fan of Iwo Jima and all the Pacific Islands that they covered in that. It was more of a love story in that one. I didn't like how they romanticized it.
I actually didn't watch that one. I heard it wasn't good, so I didn't watch it. So transitioning from one TV show, Louder Milk, into my potential TV show with the Bowlers.
Man, look at you with these transitions. Who are you?
I'm transitioning today, Stephen.
And then you got to ruin it with that.
I prefer to be Zer. What the fuck is Zer?
Anyway, I don't know.
I was in Wichita, Kansas for the bowling, and we had our crew. So we had our crew. I'll just real quick. We had the film guy, which we talked about last week. We had an audio guy. We had me doing the bee shooting, and we also were able to pick up a PA, which was very helpful to have just a person around that I could hand my credit card to and say, "Can you go to Whole Foods and get us, dinner? Or could you hold this lens? Could you row over here? Could you hold this light?"
Anything.
It's just it was just very helpful to have someone there to just pick up that shit that I didn't have to do because I did everything.
Real quick, who was the person that helped you out? Was it someone that listened to the podcast? Because the
No.
podcast came out while you were there.
No, the team picked it up. Our team found someone. She was actually from Cedar Rapids or something, and she drove in because her parents were local, so she drove a couple hours, and then she stayed with her parents. He found her on a website for finding people like this. But I was going to say, it went very well. It's just a lot of work, that things that I've never encountered in a situation like this that I had to end up doing. So basically, I was producing, directing, data managing, interviewing, making all the decisions for what the shooters were going to shoot, where the sound guy was going to go, who we were going to mic up, basically running the entire production from the ground with some help from home from one of our other producers who I would bounce ideas off of and get suggestions when I was just stuck and lost. And that
Not easy.
was a lot because I had to be on from the moment I woke up earlier than everybody. Well, I don't know if I woke up earlier than everybody else, but I got up earlier than our meeting time, because the one morning I woke up at 6:30 and I sent you the production list, right? I sent you that. What was your first thoughts on that?
I was actually surprised that you wrote down like a general outline and a guideline for the day. Not so much, I mean, kind of a shot list, but more like a brain dump of like, this is what we should be focusing on. Were you able to execute on all the shots? Or that was the thing I sent back. I'm like, now the hard part is going to be being able to shoot all of this stuff.
Well, the thing that happens is things change while you're there. But so what's cool about the list, it was like day 2 Players Championship. I put in the shooter's name, I put in the sound person's name, and I actually said some nice stuff at the beginning. Great job, day 1. I slept like shit, but had a ton of ideas for today's shoot.
I meant to talk about that.
It's a long day, but I am packing it with things for us to focus on and not just repeat of yesterday. Andres, I love the feel of the ball
funny
truck.
though, because you always are blunt and you want to get right to the point and not talk about like bullshit like I slept like shit, who cares? And you actually wrote that down.
Well, I was
Usually
trying
you're like,
to
get to the point.
I was trying to, give some positives at the beginning. I've learned, from our meetings internally here at Frono's Photo about what I should be, how I should act.
My favorite is that immediately right away on line 2, you talk about lunch and dinner. Before you even get to the shooting part.
Hey, it's extremely
important. Before we start, lunch and dinner, dinner similar to yesterday, depending on how fast Polin moves today. We would take the time to sit down and eat this time.
It's just one of those things that you have to take into consideration. I don't like standing or eating in a precarious position. I'm a sit down and eat type of guy.
But there's no details. It just says dinner will be similar to yesterday.
We didn't know. Well, they know what that meant.
I know, but it's not like
you.
We're going to dinner at this time at this place.
Because there is no going to dinner.
Or we're going to get the runner to grab dinner at this place, have your order ready, blah, blah, blah.
That was to be decided. And that was probably going to be
funny.
Whole Foods again.
Yeah, I just feel like this line wasn't needed.
Fuck you, Steven.
It's a given.
No, fuck you, Steven. I'm going into details.
I love your brain dumps though, because it's very like literal and like common sense shit half the time.
Well, so the thing is, when I'm doing the shoot, it's like the main shooter who has 30 years of experience shooting reality and shooting commercials is like, so what would you like? I'm like, I want you to just do the thing that you do, right?
Yeah.
Do it.
We hired you for your experience, your expertise.
And I think part of it is he wanted me to guide that, and I'm like, look, this is what, and I talked to him like, this is what you do.
Normally you would have a director on site or a producer of some sort guiding him and giving him that advice and what to shoot. And
beforehand, before we even got there, we had examples of angles, showed them the sizzle reel, what we captured prior, to give him a frame of reference for what you might see. Subtle guys, like, here's what I'm looking for. And, he used my 24 to 70 version 2 the whole time. I basically used 2 lenses, a 24 to 105 2.8 and the 70 to 200. And the truth be told is that 24 to 105 is unbelievable catch-all for the situations that I'm in. Now,
I knew that would be a perfect run and gun lens for 90% of the stuff you're shooting.
Yeah, I mean, would I like to be using faster glass in certain situations when I have the opportunity to shoot 135 1.8, 50 1.2, 85 1.2? I'm going to take it.
But the quick run and gun nature of that whole shoot, you really need a lens like that with the versatility of the zoom.
Well, because I had to shoot log for the first time. I've never shot log before. And Steven wanted to see some of the clips so he could do some correcting to it, because you talk about base ISO and how you want to keep it down.
Well,
but in the bowling center, there is no way to do that at 120 frames a second.
That's the hard part. And I do think it's crucial to shoot log because the lanes are lit maybe 2 stops over than the rest of the actual bowling center. Everything else is much darker, maybe even 3-stop difference. So you do want that range. But if you're not shooting at 800 base ISO, you're not going to get that range. And you were shooting close to 5,000 for your 4K 120 clips because you're sticking to that 180 degree shutter at like 1/250th of a second for 4K 120, which will result in obviously a much higher cranked up ISO when you're shooting at like f2.8 and you don't have super fast glass. So you always say you don't care about noise, but the issue is you don't care about noise with still photography. It's much different when it comes to video because it's moving noise and it's moving color noise on top of that, which is much more apparent. Now, I'm assuming whoever's editing this will put on some noise reduction like you typically do with shooting log and stuff like that, especially if you're shooting past base. But that was the one thing I noticed right away, was that the footage was fairly noisy and maybe a little underexposed, but not enough to be like, whoa, you were way off. I think it looked pretty good, especially your 4K 24p stuff, the standard stuff, which you stayed around closer to base, like 1250 ISO. The thing is, you had to deal with it. You didn't have any external lighting. You just had what was there. You couldn't go any wider in terms of aperture. It is what it is, it's run and gun. It's documentary work. And I think you did great, especially for never really shooting under pressure like that on your own and basically being in charge of everything on top of that.
Yeah, I've realized I'm really good at what I do. And, so what I realized is what I said to one of our guys on the crew, he's like, look, there's people that try to learn how to produce. You're either born with it or you're not. And he's like, it seems like you got it. Like, you get it. He's like, on the fly, you know what to do. You have a feel for it. You understand story from your photography. You understand all that. And I'm like, look, for 13 years, we've been producing, or I and then you have been producing our own content, which is doing all of this just in a different way.
Well, and one thing I said was make sure you really do cover all of your angles. With video, it's really important to get that close-up, wide, tight, detail shot, all of it in one scene, so you can really manipulate the edit and make it seem like there are multiple shooters and you have multiple angles. Try and get him bowling 5 times, but different angles, so you can combine it into one. That kind of stuff. Where still photography, you can get away with just one wide shot telling the entire scene and picture in one picture. But video, you really need to move around, get different angles, and do a lot more.
Yeah, I don't think I was able to do that. I don't think I did.
Well, you had the other guy too, though, so hopefully together.
But he was mostly wide. He was mostly on the wider side. I went for the tighter. I think what I need to focus on for the next tournament, which is the U.S. Open, if we have the guy doing the main A shooting, I did do the 120 stuff. And I did a bunch. So what I actually focused on, so if the guy was on the approach and I had the 70 to 200, I would, or 24 to 105, I would kind of have them focused tight onto the right-hand side, but they have these banners in the background all the way at the end of the lanes that said what the tournament was. So I'd rack from their name to the back of the building to show what tournament it was in slow-mo, have it rack back to them as they go with their approach to bowl. Then I would switch focus to the pins as the ball started rolling to get that, and quickly rack back to the person for their celebration. Like, that's what, honestly, that dual pixel AF, the ability to move those points independently in the viewfinder and to have the viewfinder for the R3 I just love having my eye up to the viewfinder to shoot this stuff.
The issue with shooting also slow motion and with Canon, 4K 120 especially, is you're not getting any audio. So I was actually surprised that your team wanted to do more 120 footage than like regular 24p or even 4K 60, because you're not getting any audio. You're having to shoot at that 1/250th of a second, which again leads to really high ISO video. I would favor more like 4K 60 for that type of stuff, the fast action sports style, and you're not cranking it up too much. You're getting audio. Do you think next time you go out, you'll stick to like 4K 60, or do you still
I have no idea.
Because the other thing is, if you're trying to conform a 120p clip into a 24p timeline and speed it up to play back in 24p, it's going to look very jittery and jarring and over-cranked because you're at such a high shutter speed. It's not going to have that smooth motion blur that you're used to with regular 4K footage.
That's just something I need them to educate me on or tell or suggest to me to do.
Yeah.
Because there's certain things I just don't know. Right. And I'm learning certain things as we go along. And so I did ask the questions. Now that the footage is back, they lost a day because of FedEx and the bad weather. Finally got the stuff there yesterday. But I'm like, I'm looking for feedback. I want you guys to take a look at what I shot and, of course, what the main guy shot, and then give me feedback on what's coming, on what you need me to do. Right? Here's what we liked.
Have they given you that yet?
No, they just got the footage yesterday. Okay. So they're loading it up in the servers for our guy to watch in remotely. But I'm like, I just tell me what you need me to do next time. I learned quick with that. Like, I know what to do. So I just need you to, I know how to do it. I just need some feedback on what I did do so that you can be like, all right, in this situation, like that. And I do always need to remember the wides and mediums, the tights, and the details. Like, I got Belmo tying his shoes.
Yeah.
I get the feet going up the lane. I get the ball coming tight as it's coming out of the hand, try to track it down the lane a little bit and stuff. So there's only so many angles we can do during bowling because you can't get out on the lanes.
Because with this stuff, it's more about the A-roll than the B-roll, too. It's more about the story, the audio, in my opinion, than just random cinematic-type B-roll.
I would switch to 24p for that. I would quickly, you preset my buttons.
Yep.
So one of the things is we picked up an extra shooter because I went home. I just went home, and one of the storylines was Ryan Barnes, a 21-year-old bowler who went all the way through from the pre-tournament qualifier with an exemption and worked his way all the way up to make it onto the TV show. We wanted to capture that. And one of the things is we picked up a shooter there, and he was asking me about getting paid the next day because it was a very short turnaround. They sent him the contract, the team. In the contract, it talks about net 45. And I don't like net 45 as a independent, someone who works for myself or someone who's hired people, that my whole thing is,
well, explain to the audience what it is for those that don't know.
Okay. Net 45 is where you do the job and then they pay you 45 days later. And that's net 45.
And it's typically what, 30, 45, or 90 or something, or 60?
Well, I can't understand a 60-day or 90-day net. You're going to make me wait 3 months to get paid while you already, have a budget or whatever.
It's and good I'm old not talking, corporate America. Yeah. Invoicing.
I don't
that.
like that. Look, there's. I made it him aware though. Well, what I said to him is like, if it is net 45 after their meeting in the morning and that's what they're sticking with, I'll pay you. I'm going to send you the money in the morning. I'm not worried about it. I will get reimbursed myself. I've always been of the school of thought of if you do work for me, I'm paying you. Then when you do your job, you finished, I'm paying you.
Yep.
So when I would do weddings, like Richie would second shoot with me, and by second shoot, he would really run the show and do the first shooting, and I did the candid stuff. But if someone handed me cash at the end of the night for the wedding, which happened one of the times we shot, and I was paying Richie, say $500 or $600 for the day, I peeled off six $100 bills and I handed it to him, and we were done. He was paid because it's, in my opinion, it's wrong to make them wait for you to get paid. You're the job. Like, it's your job, you pay your people. That's me. I'm not saying that our team is doing anything wrong because that's how their business is set up, because they work in that corporate world and they do net 45. In this situation, I paid him in the morning myself, and I'll get reimbursed whenever it is. The money we paid him doesn't matter to me right now.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure he was happy and he got paid. But I said, in the future, if you're doing stuff for us, it's going to be net 45. And it says it there. But the other thing is, he had to put out money for the extra hotel day, the extra car day. Whereas if we were putting it together and hiring him, the flight and pay, all that stuff would be, all the expenses
covered.
Would be taken care of by the team beforehand. This was just a different last minute situation. I'm just saying, I don't like net 45. Just shady 45.
The great thing about this trip, though, was like a trial run for the most part. And you guys still got plenty of content, it seems, that could work out for this show, for this docuseries, whatever you want to call it. You get a nice feel of shooting logs, being an actual video shooter when you're so used to and have that still photography ingrained in you.
Yeah, I'm great at it. I'm great at it. I'm really good at it.
Next channel, Fro Knows Video.
No, I do own that, but no, I'm really good at it. So I can run down the stuff that I did own, like Fro Knows. I think I don't know if I owned Fro Knows, but I did Fro Knows Music, Fro knows video, Fro knows dildos, Fro knows
that's real, by the
media.
way, for those wondering.
Yeah, I didn't re-up it, but I did buy Fro knows
How do you think
dildos
we
way
got
back
into
in the
the
day.
AVN Awards?
Had to have a pass that said Fro knows dildos. If you don't have a pass that says Fro knows dildos, hey, if you listen this far and I ask you guys to leave some testimonials or comments or something on Photo News Fix, can you just do hashtag Fro knows dildos down below the next
Jesus.
time, or on any video, hashtag Fro knows dildos, so that I know that you heard it in the podcast and you're like, it's inside, and then write, if you know, you know. Fro knows dildos. If you know, you know. The ins and outs of photography.
Oh man, very photography related.
Anyway, those I did own most of those. Fro knows media, all that stuff. But I think the websites are less meaningful today than they used to be.
Definitely.
It really doesn't matter at this point what your website is.
Do you check
as
your
long
traffic on your website on phronosphoto.com?
Not at all. It's been years.
I mean, we used to
It's been years.
really cater to that and make sure everything was updated on
did.
there. Now it's like it's an afterthought half the time.
I remember when I first started and I went and spoke at Blog World and they needed a title for my speak, which I filled the entire room, because I'm so good back then. And I was like from 0 to 1 million. So it was from 0 page views to 1 million page views in like 4 months. And that was page views. That was at a time when that's what mattered. People cared about page views. Now, I don't even look at the analytics to the website because that's not where people play.
I think page views still matter to some of those old school people and companies. But yeah, for most people these days, I think it's all about views and followers and subscribers and likes and all that kind of crap.
Yeah, I mean, it's all ebbs and flows. There's things that I would do. It's like I would log in 43 times a day to check sales on something. I'd log in 43 times a day to check traffic. And then at some point, it's like, you got to let it go. It's going to be what it's going to be. And you know that after years and years of doing it, there is a sequence to how this all works. And it is the ebbs and flows. And that's why I'm not sitting here going to be making a YouTube video about things need to change. Do you know what my saying is? If you're going to change something, then just fucking change it. You don't need to announce that you're going to change it. And if you have something big that's going to be
Big
coming,
things coming.
you don't need to announce that big things are fucking coming. You see this more often now that I've talked about it, I'm assuming. Now that I've talked about it a couple of weeks, you do realize when someone's like, here's another one, like Graham Stephan, the YouTuber for Finance Channel. If he's working on a big video, right, he will then do, and Gary Vee does the same thing, but they'll like make a post and say, we spent 2 months editing this. This is a really big video. We worked really hard on it. It would mean a lot to me if you would go and give it a watch. And it's like, no, don't ask me to do that. Don't say it the way you said it. If I want to watch your content, and if it's valuable, I'm going to watch it. But just by saying it would really mean a lot to me, you say that 73 times. Of course it would mean a lot to you. And of course you worked hard on the video, because if you didn't work hard on the video, you're an asshole. So just don't say shit. And the video that he's talking about fucking flopped for him.
Well,
and that's the damaging thing.
Starting to say that every single video, and it loses its value.
It loses its value, and it's one of those videos that, yeah, you spend a lot of time on it, but sometimes it doesn't pay dividends in the end, or it takes years for it to pay dividends in the end. And you just have to understand that some content you're going to win on, some content you're not going to win on, and just chalk it up. And as my dad said years and years ago at the very beginning, when I was super stressed about what I was doing, and we're talking like 6 months into doing it, like if you have a bad video, you put up a new video tomorrow, and that video people forget about. It's not like people go back 10 years into my content and be like, you remember when Jared made that stupid video? It's like, no, they don't.
Back to Caleb Pike that we talked about earlier, DSLR video shooter, one of his points that he was bringing up was that he would be so stressed and would have panic attacks about the thought of releasing a video, because the thought of it just flopping and failing would affect him mentally and even physically when it comes to sleep and stuff like that. But you really need to be thick-skinned when you're working in this YouTube world, because, and he also said like he would extend working on like the video just to prolong that feeling of failing if it did fail. And sometimes it wouldn't fail every time, but just the thought of it failing would just kill him on the inside.
I mean, we talk about this all the time.
Oh yeah,
like we did that Zhuin video with the Jurassic Park, and we thought that was one of the. So that was a product showcase. We knew it would be very hard to get people to watch it, and it was. But it was one of the best videos that we've made. You know, it's that's just how it is. Or the one we just put out for the Ace Pro. We know that it's difficult to get those videos watched by people, and we understand that it's not going to get a lot of views. And is it upsetting? Yeah, it's frustrating and it's upsetting, but we also understand that you're going to win some on videos, you're going to lose some, because we've had some Insta360 videos that done well over 100,000+, and you're like, that one was a success. Sometimes it's hit or miss. You don't know what's going to work.
And I think it's more upsetting for me if I'm like, you know, working on a video for 4 or 5 days straight or even more. It is a little soul crushing when you put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into it, you know, working behind the scenes, and it kind of just gets 0 views.
Well, the one that we were most happy about that you did spend many months on, years on, was the Bernie video.
I just want to clarify, it wasn't years on. It was like weeks at a time scattered throughout 2 years. Altogether, like 2-ish months for sure.
It was a big edit, and thankfully we were able to get it right. Thankfully the title worked, people watched it, and it's still going to be
Do you know what you called it initially?
No, I forget. What did I call it?
You need to see this or something.
Oh,
this must
really?
Be seen. Well, wasn't it that?
Something like that. Maybe it was.
It was a very clickbaity title for once, and we were like, you know what? Fuck it. This really does need to be seen, because we spent a ton of time on it. Speaking of Graham Stephan, we just did the same thing.
I was going to say it would really mean a lot. No, we didn't sit there and say it would mean a lot to me if you watch this video. We thought right off the bat, we need to have a really good clickbait headline to get people to watch this video.
Pretty sure it was "This needs to be seen" or something like that.
Maybe. Yeah.
I wish YouTube will give you an archive of what you titled it initially and how many times you changed it and all of that.
Well, and I go back to 9 years video, the million view video.
Oh yeah, I like that one a lot.
We knew from the past that if you wrote "thanks a million" or anything, you know, just call it 1 million, no one's watching it. And so at the time I wrote, is this the end of Frono's Photo after 9 years? And it was such a good video that we knew that, fine, clickbait it. It's not going to not deliver, because it does deliver. It's a solid video.
Yes, back to, you know, taking a long time to edit something. That one did take a while, because we went back through the archives, and I was looking and watching videos that I've never even seen before I was part of the team. So it was hard I had to literally watch every video. I think we made like a 30-second sequence of you just doing your Frono's Photo intro that I cut up for that. And that took half a day right there just to do that. I cut up like 30 different videos.
Anyway, bringing this in for a landing here, we talked about a lot as always. I have a lot of stuff to get done, and it would really mean a lot to me if you guys could listen to this podcast. Steven's texting. He didn't even hear it.
No,
Steven's busy
I'm looking
texting.
at the radio station I used to work for, and they used one of my photos, and I'm like, oh, I haven't seen that picture in a while. It's Dashboard Confessional.
Screaming infidelities. I shot him for Rolling Stone back in the day.
He's a tiny little man.
He's a very nice person.
He is a nice guy.
I really like talking to him. He was super nice to me. Anyway, I might be having to pop out to Vegas, then Indianapolis for the bowling. There's so many moving parts that are involved with putting on a production like this, and it's not all final. Like, we have the rights to do what we're doing, which is great. That's one of the biggest things, one of the hurdles and challenges that we faced over the last couple of years. It's the constant phone calls, production calls, talking to different shooters and different potential people that are going to work on the project.
Yep.
And there's so many moving parts, and everybody plays their part. There's just so much that some days, like the other day, I felt like I got in after shoveling because it snowed, and right onto an 1.5-hour call, then into another call, then I did my lunch, and then I did this, and then the day is over, and I'm like, did I get anything done? And so,
man, imagine if we spent that much time on like a production, like going back and forth 1 billion times until we actually shoot it.
No, I can't.
We just can't, though. It's a much different world with YouTube. You need to keep the machine going. You know, you need to keep feeding it.
And we're working on it. We're working on it.
Oh yeah, always.
We're working on it.
Always.
We're always working on it.
Yep.
So let's call it a day. This is going to be episode 85, if I think correct. Oh yeah, I forgot. You could text me 313-710-9729. You could always text me #Frono's dildos. If you know, you know. You could text it to me and leave comments other places, just so I know that you know that it's Frono's dildos. Now, don't go looking for that website, because I don't think there's anything. Actually,
I tried to go on it already, as you were talking about earlier. It's not there.
It's not there.
It doesn't exist.
It's not like going to bit.ly/megafro 2021 or 22 or 23 or 24 or 25. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it at work. Don't do it at work. Only do it if you've got Apple Display headset on and no one can hear
Make sure
or
your
see what
volume
you're
is
about to
off
look at.
and your screen is dimmed all the way.
Yeah, just put the visor on.
And maybe an incognito tab.
Yeah, if you don't want them to know. All right, guys. I got a call today. Steven, you got a call today?
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for listening. Jared Polin, Photo.com. See ya.
Bye.